our brother. We have young entrepreneurs, young bureaucrats, aspiring bureaucrats, political activists, climate change activists, budding entrepreneurs, development workers. We are a youth-focused organization where we work on actualizing the SDG goals, but most importantly, we focus on youth peace and security, and we hope that over the next decade, we will continue to emphasize on promoting youth and how young people can be engaged in peace and security issues. With this in mind, the theme was very specially curated by the organizers. How we can empower young leaders, how we can bridge SDG goals and ensure there is social inclusive development in the Northeast. The themes that we have curated for this event are on the themes of mountains, society, and economy. We want young leaders to understand how we can harness the biodiversity of the region. On society, how we can understand the unique geopolitical landscape of the region. And thirdly, understand about the economic opportunities in the region, how innovation can drive growth and development, and most importantly, address issues around poverty, inequality, so that there can be inclusive development in the region. Dear delegates, the conclave was prepared with the belief that young leaders have the potential to make a difference in our communities. We believe that the future of the Northeast rests on ethical and principled leaders. We require value-driven leaders for the region to progress. So over the next few years, over the next few days, we hope that you will learn more about the unique challenges of the state, of the region. We hope that you will take the opportunity to interact with the speakers, with your fellow delegates, with the organizers, to learn more about the themes, but most importantly, at the end, we expect a conclave commitment, a commitment that you will work together, that we will work collaboratively with the district, with the state, with the government, with the state, with the civil society organizations. Because for the Northeast to progress, for us to move ahead, we require this collaborative effort.
Conclave, which has been meticulously curated for the delegates by the organizers, and also highlighting the expected outcomes of this conclave.
Because you are bordering countries, 99% of your borders are international borders. You are bordering countries which are very, very vulnerable to the climate change and submergence under climate change, which means large-scale refugees from across. So we are leaving this world with a very, very troubled legacy because our generations have failed you. And I say this with great responsibility because it is a failure that we must acknowledge. And we must therefore also humbly request you to take on the challenges that have been set, that you are confronted with, and to confront them better than my generation has been able to do. On the economic front, on the political front, on the climate front, literally you have to fix the world. We are giving you a broken world that you need to fix. And I hope that you will fix it in a way that is much more inclusive, much less divisive, much more respectful of diversity, striving towards the positive peace that has been absent from our lives. And in the totality, underlying or embodying the vision that, when André Malraux, the visiting culture minister of France, when he came to India immediately after independence, he had asked Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru what his vision for India was. And I always remember and quote this because Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, in just 4 words, he outlined what his vision for India was. And he said, a just state by just means. A just state by just means. And that is what we have failed to deliver for India and for the world, which is what you are confronted with. I'm very glad that my colleague Narayan Devnathan, who's the Chief Communications and Strategy Officer for NFI and comes with long years of experience in advertising is here for. Because he will take you through this process over the next 2 days from a very different perspective that we are not exposed to, and I don't want to speak much about it, but the framework is a beautiful constraint, as he calls it, to find out how each of you help you on a journey of exploration, on how each of you can make a difference in your respective states. I'm very glad that some senior young leaders, I can see Benjamin, I can see Ejam, I think Keto is somewhere there, all my colleagues who've been working with us over the years in the EU project. They are all here. They will be guiding you through the sessions because they have been working on the ground with youth groups and communities from Thobar to Churachandpur to Dimapur. You've seen the list there. I am also glad that for the first time an organization like ours, which is completely focused on development, has devoted a substantial chunk of time in this convention for entrepreneurs, for startups. We have friends joining us from Assam, from Nagaland, who successfully set up startups and who are running these startups in this region, who are new generation entrepreneurs, they are first generation entrepreneurs. I welcome all of them here. I hope that the lessons that they have for us from the private sector, whether it's IT-enabled services or ecotourism or other sectors that they are working on. I'm glad that they are here to share their knowledge with us because for many of you, that will be your chosen path. For many of you, that is the path that you want to take to foster development, to accelerate change in your communities and in your states. And I'm glad that we are having this conversation, not just amongst ourselves from a perspective of development, but from frameworks which have been successful in other areas, combining them with entrepreneurships and startups that we have in the region, in the overall perspective of peace and development. How do we build a world that is more compassionate, kinder to each other, more respectful of every community, does not see one community in confrontation, conflict or competition with other, but part of this beautiful planet which is broken that we have to fix collectively. And with that, I would say all my very best, my heartiest congratulations to the 100 people who have gone through a process and who have come here. And I wish this conclave all my very best. I'd like once again to thank the Government of Nagaland for working with us on this. In the last round, we had the SDGCC of the Government of Nagaland. This time, we are very privileged to have the Youth Resources and Sports Department as well as Honorable Advisor.
But I just want you to recollect what we are, where we are, and what we should be doing, so that where we will be will depend on what we do today. Well, the northeast of India, as you all know, covering the 7 sisters and 1 brother, it covers about 7.98% of the geographical area of the country. We have about 3.78% of the population of the country. And interestingly, we have a state which has just about 17% population density to about 398 population density in Assam. We are perhaps a very diverse area, diverse group of people in a compact area. That perhaps I believe is one of our strengths. The Northeast region, as stated by Mr. Biraj, we share a long boundary with a number of countries. And the boundary that we share with the mainland is just a small one, the chicken neck area. Our Northeast, I think it's one of the less developed regions compared to other parts of the country. Though we have immense potential for development. What ails the Northeast? If we think about that, I think there are many things we can come up with. But the problems of political violence, insurgency, ethnic conflict, migration pressure, interstate disputes, and underdevelopment have become integral to the understanding of the political process and economic development of the Northeast region today. The economic factors, if we look at it closely, appears to be the more potent reason for the continued political unrest and uncertainty in the entire region. Irrespective of the stance and the vocabulary or the language that we use, economic causes emerge as a common theme in all the analysis of various problems in India's Northeast. Perhaps the most cursory look at this region would point to the fact that the region lags behind the rest of the country, particularly those parts of the country with comparable resource endowments. The economic development of the northeastern region is characterized by trends prevailing in the country as a whole, as well as certain features that are unique to our area. To a large extent, from colonial times, the country as well as our region has been an exporter of raw materials. And even today, perhaps that is not very far from the truth. This is evident in the way transportation and communication linkages developed in the region are still concentrated in the upper Brahmaputra Valley. The sprawling rural hinterlands continued with traditional agriculture, while revenue from the tea and oil sustained the urban centers. There is a large disparity in the various sectors of the economy and various sub-regions. The economic activities are concentrated in select pockets, even in our region. There are vast areas that remain still inaccessible.
On behalf of the government of Nagaland, I warmly welcome each and every one of you to this beautiful state capital, Kohima. At the same time, I would like to express my appreciation and thanks to the National Foundation for India for organizing such an important conclave here in Kohima, with an aim to instill a sense of responsibility, a sense of leadership into the minds of the young leaders from the Northeast India. We also salute you for initiating such a noble venture in order to bring up the northeastern states in all perspectives. So thank you, NFI, for your initiatives and also for this conference, for this conclave to be held in Kohima. Nagaland may not have the kind of infrastructure, the comfort you may have in your states, but I can assure you, we can also be a good host like any other states. And so I wish a wonderful and pleasant stay in Kohima. In fact, you came at the right time, the right season, and I hope this conclave will be fruitful, meaningful, and it will be an action-oriented gathering for the benefit of the region. As mentioned earlier by the moderator, I was a student leader. For many years, I was involved in student activities as a social worker, as an activist. And even today, I consider as a social worker, even though I have joined politics. And therefore, it is always a pleasure to interact, to associate and mingle with young people like you today. And for which I would once again thank the NFI for inviting me to be in your midst, to be amongst you this morning. Your themes, the topics that you have chosen for this conclave, they are vital, they are crucial for the overall growth and development of the region. I cannot agree more when you say that the northeastern region is blessed with an incredible natural beauty, a rich biodiversity, a rich cultural heritage. Yes, this region, our region, is adorned with mountains, beautiful mountains, treasure trove of rich mountains, and varied biodiversity. And for generations, we are enjoying the benefits out of this rich ecosystem. However, we all know this delicate ecosystem is now facing threats because of our human action. Our action like deforestation, hunting, pollution, climate change, and many more. We know the potentials of our rich ecosystem,